Welcome to the November 3, 2025 meeting of the Orleans Fire Rescue Building Committee. If you wish to join online or via phone, you can find the connection information on the town website. Attending this evening from my left to right is Chief Jeff Deering, DPW Director Rich Waldo, Peter Canine, Rick Chanfilona. I'm David Little. Actually, that's how he told me how to say it.
No. It's okay, though.
I'm getting closer.
You're getting better. You're definitely getting better, but it's definitely not how I told you.
You don't have to change your name, Rick.
You just end at Rick.
Rick C.
There you go. That's good.
I don't know if Mark Matheson is coming. He may be. He's on his way. OES Representative Kathy McNamara, Emily Miller, Assistant Town Manager Mark Reel. Also attending is Executive Assistant Laura St. John Dupuy, and at the mic we have Special Coordinator Mike Solitro, and from Pomeroy we have
Taylor MacDonald.
Taylor McDonald. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
David, you'd be surprised if I didn't have one or two.
Watch out for the OSHA violation as you're walking over there.
We just talked about that. I'd like to address the charge issue of the net zero requirement. As I read it, that requires that the design and construction, and I'm going to read this, for the station, use all available technologies to achieve the net zero facility. And this is done with no limitation of cost. So if you put every available technology into this place, we're not going to get a station. And that would be very, very sad. Further, I would say that the federal definition of net zero, and there is a formal DOE definition, does not include sustainability or the lead system. Those are two items that have been mentioned repeatedly, not just for the fire station, but for other projects by the select board. So I'm wondering whether they were left out deliberately or the select board just assumed they were included in net zero. And that's not true per the definition of net zero. If you take that to the maximum, the net zero, the sustainability, I mean, we could be into things like wood framing, no stainless steel cooktops. I could go on and on and on, and I won't, but it's a heavy cost item, and it could really limit the committee's ability to go the best way. As far as the doing all technologies, one of the technologies used is to locate the building at the best angle for energy efficiency. Now, given this site, that might be a problem anyway, but also it could be required, if it's required as I read it, then you do that at the cost of operational functionability. So, you know, that's another issue that I think has to be raised, whether we include all of these items or do we just evaluate them including cost. So I think the select board needs to reconsider the definition of what they mean by net zero and have a requirement that the cost be evaluated. And I want to pass on to you something that I got off the website for Orangeville, Ontario, Canada. They were planning to build a 29,000 square foot fire rescue station. And this is current. This isn't some ancient history. But they ran into budget problems like we sometimes do, and they were very concerned about going the route of debt financing. We don't seem to have a problem with that in this town. But they decided that before they would do this, they would get estimates from, professional qualified firms of what it would cost to do net zero and what it would cost on the basis of Canada's non-net zero standard. Apparently they have one. I'm going to give you the numbers that I got from their information. Based on the 29,000 square foot size, and it was later reduced, as many other fire stations in the final analysis, the non-net zero estimate was, and this is Canadian dollars, but doesn't matter percentage-wise, $736 a square foot. The net zero estimate came in at $924 a square foot, a 25% increase. And I ask you, can we afford that? If we don't have transparency of what this costs, and somebody raises the issue, like me, at town meeting come November, what's going to happen if there is no option for doing it another way? So I think we have to know what the costs are before we go down this road, because I'd hate to see it get turned down in the end. I really would. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't catch your name, sir.
Ken Heritage.
Thank you very much.
I was the one that raised the issue about the bike paths last year.
Can I ask you just a quick question? Are you addressing these concerns to the, oh, we don't?
Emily, we
Oh,
don't,
Sorry,
we don't
Well, you
forgot.
can.
public speak, we just,
I forgot.
The last committee did, allow people to talk all the time. The
we're
last
just-
fire
we're not
rescue.
go- we have public comment, which we don't return comments on. We take it to our committee, and I will tell you this much, we're fully going to investigate everything that you just talked about.
Yeah, but if somebody has a question, I'm gone, right?
It's
That-
okay, it's okay. I don't need to know it from you.
I mean,
Not on the agenda, it's public comment.
Pardon?
There's no conversation that happens.
It's
at
not it's not an agenda item. It-
right.
But it,
I
but
understand what it is.
please
but I'm
be
at enough
assured,
meetings-
please be assured, it most likely will be an agenda item in the future.
Yeah. Right.
Okay?
David, just on the issue of public comment, I'm at enough meetings and see enough meetings to know that that rule is broken when it suits.
Understood. Thank you for coming. Any other public comment? Okay, so I assume Rick filled you in on the last meeting?
You did, yes.
And we left the meeting with a few of the members wanting to discuss the RFQ and the criteria, or not discuss it, but review the RFQ and the criteria matrix to perhaps discuss with you. So that's our next agenda item. Do we have any members that went through the RFQ, and do you have comments?
Go first. I went first last time. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go first. I did. I went through the RFQ. Thank you very much for sending it to us, give us the opportunity to review. I think for the most part, the RFQ is complete. I did forward a couple of comments that I had earlier today to Mike Solitro, which I think got to you, Taylor.
Yep, and I input those into the final form draft that I'm using.
Yeah, and then mere suggestions. I mean, I think for the most part, anything that I drew out were things that I wanted to, isolate to bring them up, debarment information. But I think the only one that was really worth discussing at this time was just really the phasing. And I wanted to just understand the thoughts on the phasing of Phase 1, Phase 2. So Phase 1, it's programming through the schematic design phase. If you want to bring that up. And then Phase 2 of the contract would be based only after receiving town meeting approval and a notice to proceed. It's the only question that I want clarity on is should we not make town meeting at May, for whatever reason, we don't make town meeting, and we don't have, a request at town meeting, we still going to be able to advance into phase two where we can start working on design development with the thoughts that we will be able to have a more refined cost estimate when we do go to town meeting for funding approval? So the way that it's laid out right now is the fact that we will go to town meeting on schematic design.
I thought that was what we were going, that was all in play this evening.
Exactly, and I know that that's the course that we're on, but for some reason, no one has a crystal ball on how this thing's gonna really work out. Town meeting in May is gonna come real quickly. And if for some reason we're not at a point where we're gonna finish schematic design and we're not gonna have a cost estimate associated with schematic design, and it's gonna put us off into the fall town meeting, are we still able to proceed past schematic design into design development based on the current phasing that we have?
I would say yes. I'd say that's probably something more you want to write into the contract when we negotiate with the architect. I think we could put a note in here that says that it may go forward at town meeting and it may not, and the town may request to, further the design along at that point. So I can put some verbiage in there that spells that out, but I think that would be more something, better suited for the actual contract portion of it, so that you're not stuck after, you issue the contract at phase one. Yeah, for the RFQ, I don't see it as a huge issue, but I think we could certainly add some verbiage in there that captures what you're saying.
Okay.
So to segue on, may I segue on that?
Sure, go ahead.
So last week when we discussed this, we discussed the pitfalls of bringing forward a number to town meeting based on schematic design versus if we have the opportunity to, for instance, this year, we're having a town meeting November 17th. We have all that time to come up with a more accurate amount. I got the impression from Rick that was the preferable way to go. And then you could skip over public presentations, warrant article, annual town meeting, ballot vote. You just start, you just right after schematic estimate and budget development, you just keep going. I mean, wasn't that the direction we were
Well, we talked about it.
headed at?
So you're saying that the committee is thinking about moving a vote on funding to the fall of next year?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so the
Yes.
select board has directed us to look at May.
I know they have, but
We can't decide as a committee to change course until the select board.
well, then we need to get before the select board at their earliest possible meeting.
I don't think, I think we need to get this RFQ out the door.
Well, no, I disagree. So you weren't here.
Correct, but
last
we
week's
know what our
meeting.
direction-
You had a chance to talk to Mike. I want to hear from everybody here.
I understand, but
because
it's not our purview as a committee to determine
Did you
timeline.
read in the paper what happened 3 weeks ago in Provincetown with the project that they went to town meeting with that was based on the schematic design? They have to go back to another town meeting.
Sure, but we're talking about an RFQ to get this process moving. So we don't need a decision about when something's going to town meeting right now. We need to get this process going. And so
Okay.
waiting for the select board to come up with another determination.
Okay, that being
Stall
said,
this process.
that being said then, one of the concerns that was brought up last week when you were not here was that the time frame allotted of 2.5 weeks for the architects to get back to us might be a little slim, given how busy architects are right now. So we may want to adjust the time frame within that. That's where I'm going. I think it was mentioned by a few members that we don't want to lose a good architect because they're busy and they don't have time to respond in 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks isn't much time to turn this around. Would you agree?
We just to summarize, because I was here last week, was that we agree that that is a short amount of time, and that May is the target, and we acknowledge that that is a tight timeline. But for us to punt on the timeline today doesn't make sense. If we don't get the responses in the 2.5 weeks, we have the opportunity to evaluate it. But holding back any longer or contemplating for what future events may or may not be, was something that we said we'd come back and talk here today, with the idea that May would still remain the target.
I think it's just a matter of not so much saying that we're gonna punt on the meeting, but some of the verbiage in here is pretty much says, hey, listen, after phase one, we have no more money. So you can't go forward until we get approval. But that might not be accurate. And maybe there's a better way to do this would be, we can get rid of that language about, hey, you can't go past phase one because we don't have any money. And instead, phase one could be a schematic design, an estimate, and a budget development. And then maybe phase two is design development, right? A schematic design and a budget estimate, right? And then this way, we continue at each phase of the design process, putting together an estimate and a budget development, right? So that wherever we are in the design phase, wherever we are in the meetings, and whatever we ask the select board, we've got a number based upon our most recent design package, and we're comfortable with that. And then, so anytime we need to get approval, we're good. But I just think some of this language is rigid, and it kind of boxes us in. And if we can move those barriers and just say, hey, this is phase one, this is phase two, maybe we put that language in regards to construction and closeout, because that's going to be an accurate statement. We don't have the money for design services through construction and closeout. So you can't continue with construction and closeout until we get a vote. But it's just some of this language is really rigid, and it doesn't give us that, I don't know, flexibility for things that might come our way.
Okay, understood.
I think that may solve everybody's concerns if we just,
And the thinking is that $4.5 million is enough for the whole design phase, right? Yeah, so why would we, I agree, why would we
yeah.
cut it?
Why would we
in
put
the
that
middle?
language in there that says we're broke after schematic? Yeah.
So I think to Mark's point, and I think we need to get this RFQ out as quick as we can, you know, to try to stay on a timeline, whether we hit the May target date or not. I mean, I think it's up to us, our purview, the committee of the board, is to inform the select board as we progress. And we can't progress until we get a designer on board. With that said, I mean, you heard our concerns tonight, which is being able to go into that design development phase without, you know, being held to just the schematic phase of phase one. I don't know if it makes sense to add a phase two and a phase three.
I think that's what I'll do, is I'll phase one, two, and then add three. I'll break out three will be construction and closeout. And that's based on, you know, further.
Or bidding services and construction, you know, whatever way, you know, makes sense based on available appropriation.
The optimum scenario, though, is that they're here for bidding services, right? And we use that 4.5 for bidding services, and then, this is again the optimum scenario if the select board decides to move it, right? Is we actually are getting approval from the town on the lowest bid number. So we'd want that to be aside from construction and closeout, and maybe put that in phase two, right? So they take us through bidding with the budget that we have.
And bring a bid number to town meeting.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything because we
Yeah.
don't have that, but I'm just saying, if it was to happen, we would separate the bidding process from the construction and closeout, right? And include it in the construction documents phase,
Yep,
right?
Absolutely. Yep, it's a very popular approach right now.
Well, I guess the only question I'd have with that is the available appropriation, do you feel suitable to take us through construction bidding? I mean, bidding for a 149 project is kind of time-consuming between all the pre-qualifications and all the work associated with that. Do you feel that, you know, $4.5 million is enough to take us through?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
For a project of this size, absolutely.
So, Rick, did you have other comments regarding the RFQ, or
Yeah.
you gotten?
No, I do have other ones, too.
Would you like to?
Yeah, they're just questions, really. I didn't see anywhere it says we may request an interview. Is that in there and I just missed it?
does say something in there.
Does?
An
Okay.
Interview schedule, or not a schedule, but interviews will be after.
Okay, I missed it
It's in
then.
there somewhere, yeah.
And then we kind of get, I don't know if it's too detailed, right? Because we talk about the site of the current facility, but in actuality, that's changed, right? Yeah, we still are on Eldridge, but it's not like it was supposed to be where we were right up against the one. And I don't know if that language should change because it does say site of the current facility on page 4, first paragraph. So that's just another question, if that's referencing some of the previous plans that we had, and it's not really as up-to-date. Because then we do get into, which I feel is a little bit too much information about the dentist. I don't think we need to tell them all that stuff in the RFQ, but
Okay.
that's just my opinion.
Found that strange also.
Yeah.
Just-
I was just following project information you had available, for the project on the website.
I mean, the 18 months part is good, right? Because they might not be able to get onto that land and do borings or do some, site investigations and whatnot, but it's still, there's a lot of, about how he feels about his clients and blah, blah, blah. And then the other thing is, they talk a lot about the campus. And I get worried that having them be overly concerned about the campus plan could cost us more money in the design of this building than we need to spend, right? Because the campus is a concept, right? We don't know if that's going to happen. And I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on designing around this campus thing if we don't have to.
Yeah, I agree. The community center mentioning in there seems unnecessary to me. It's, again, a concept, an idea, a study that showed that it doesn't really fit on that property anyway. So is it really necessary to put it in here? Again, it's based on information that's out on the website, but from a study that showed that that's not the right place for a community center.
Yeah. I just don't want people to come into this and then when they start negotiating with us, I shouldn't say people, firms, and they start negotiating with us, all of this is in their mind and they're working up their price based upon, oh, we're going to have to take into account this and this and this and this.
Right, especially if there's going to try to be an easement across the property to get to 6A for a sewer. Designing around imaginary buildings seems sort of ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the one other thing that's not in the RFQ, but I just want to throw this out there. There could be a drastic savings in both design and construction if there's a rephasing of that sewer line down that street. And I know, listen, I don't know, I don't go to those meetings, I don't know, but you're going to spend the money on the sewer at some point to go down that road. So why not go down the road earlier so we don't have to, because that easement is going to be, it's going to be a pain in the butt.
It's very, it's
Really,
very difficult.
really
Yep.
expensive.
Can I just go back to the previous point quickly before we get to the sewer issue? No, that's okay. I just want to agree with you too. I don't think that we should be sending these RFQ respondents to the Orleans 2040 campus study at all. I just don't think the purpose of that study is helpful to this project, and I don't know what information gleaned from that. We were dealing with a different land situation. That was more of a referendum on, do we want a community center? Do we want a, 3-body campus?
I would say it's important to include because there is programmatic materials that.
I agree with the
And
programmatic
So we need to
stuff.
include the entire piece of it, right? It's not, I think it makes sense to reference it, despite it being called the 2040 campus plan, campus feasibility study. It still has very key critical data in there that they're needing to see as they're looking to potentially submit a response to the.
I agree with the programmatic needs, but going through it, I was concerned about them looking at the placements of the buildings, and it's just not really germane to what we're trying to do here.
I didn't make any changes to what was provided to the OPM, so I carried the same exact list there, so.
Makes sense.
I think the bigger concern is just that they're cognizant that we need to work around and with the elementary school throughout this project. I think that's the underlying concern that we have to relay to them.
And I'd agree with that. I think more information we can refer them to. During the interview process, we got to make that, clarification to them. We can. But I think getting them as much information as to where the town is, what we're discussing, what the programmatic concerns are, I think we should share that with them, because if not, they're gonna find it anyways. So might as well just point them in that direction.
Are you done, Rick?
Yes, thank you.
So can I just ask again, is 2.5 weeks sufficient time for the architecture firms out there that are going to be reviewing this? Or is it,
I mean, it is aggressive, but it's enough time. We're putting out another one, another project that's just about the same time, 2.5 weeks. You know, it's aggressive to stay within the timeline that you're trying to meet for May. You know, we do have a backup schedule that we've kind of put together that we have in-house, but, you know, if that decision is ever made, then we can figure out how to get to a different town meeting, for sure, so.
so I guess the best way to deal with this is to, with respect to what's scheduled to happen in May, Mark, is to have an agenda item and have a discussion with the select board?
In terms of
In terms of,
Moving the
in terms of
vote
getting a
in May?
price based on schematic design, which is not going to be remotely close to what we could get in November at a fall special.
Sure, I think that that would be a much future agenda item topic with the select board, but for right now, focusing on getting this out and moving forward, seeing where we're going, then we can make that decision and request to the select board to meet about that.
If I could,
Please.
so we have had instances where I think it would be probably not to the advantage of the town to be locked into what has traditionally been a May town meeting and then a fall town meeting if necessary, and we've found them to be necessary more and more often over the last decade or so. But there are instances where something that's, as I said, vitally important to the town does not need to adhere to that May, October, November schedule. We can schedule a special town meeting for one item and one item only. We did that a few years ago to get all 4 towns to vote simultaneously on funding for the high school project through the schools. It's not something that you like to do, but it's certainly, as I said, something that if it's essential for the town, can be done. So I think we need to move forward as quickly as we can, as prudently as we can, to make sure that we're covering all our bases. And we can have that discussion with the full select board with an expression of concerns that this committee might have or potential solutions, but that's a conversation for the select board. We need to get moving forward now, and as I said, you know, we're not gonna rule out if its timeframe doesn't fit the May, November town meeting. If we have to have a special to get this thing rolling, I think that's what we'll do, because it's been pretty clear that the town wants this thing not to be delayed, to move forward quickly, but again, appropriately, you know, with making sure that we've covered all of our bases and we're doing it the right way.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I've got a question for Taylor. On page 9, it actually starts on page 8, but goes to page 9, number 6. It talks about communication experience is desirable as part of the selection process. Could you speak to the pros and cons of leaving that in or taking it out?
Number 6 on page.
It's at the top of page 9. It starts at the bottom of page 8. At least 3 examples of municipal construction projects completed by the project
Section 5.
team. And the last sentence is communication center experience is desirable.
Oh, that should be fire station.
Okay.
That was a holdover. But it should be fire fire station experience.
Okay.
Anything else?
Rick, did you finish all your comments? Yeah.
So, Taylor, do you have everything you need from us at this point?
Yeah, do you mind if I walk through it quickly?
No, please do.
Just to make sure I'm on the same page. So, Rich, I do have all of your comments. I implemented everything, I think.
Okay.
The only thing that I didn't was you listed out kind of what phases there'll be, I think you were trying to break down phase one into like, survey, I think you had building plans in there first and second floor, and I don't think we need to put those breakouts in there, as far as I think they know what's in schematic design, and that'll be in the contract as well, too, but.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, all my comments were mere suggestions.
Yeah, well, I think you had a lot of good ones, too.
And yeah, it was really about the deliverable. Did we want to set the expectation of the deliverable for the schematics by saying, what do we want to see?
Yep, absolutely.
But, you have it generally covered in your current language.
Okay, so I'll make it very obvious that the town, is looking obviously for phase one, may go into phase two, but it's really phase three that will require additional funding. So I'll map that out in a way that I'll run it by, Mike and Mark too, but I'll make that obvious. As far as the documents that the town wants to include, should I include the 2040 campus study or take that out? Include it, okay. Nothing about sewer, right?
We don't have anything in there for sewer. I mean, one of the charges that we're going to have to work through is how to serve this building through sewer. Preliminary sewer designs indicate that we have two options to serve this building, either by gravity through one particular parcel or through a pump station. So we're going to work separately with our vendors, and I'll bring it to this group here once I get a contract amendment, a proposal from AECom, who's our sewer engineers, to basically confirm what those preliminary designs were, 10 years ago, 5 years ago when they did the phasing. Basically most of their layouts were based on topographical information. I want to know where our constraints are for when we have to switch from gravity to a pump system. So I think that's one of the early things that we're going to work on is really how to serve that building. But we're going to need some input from the designer, and we got to provide the designer with some input, where the pipe's going to come out. We need to know what kind of elevations they're looking at for the lowest floor, things like that. So I think some language that would say, work with the town and the town's consultant to serve the building via sewer, I think would be good to add that component. That might be something that they'll end up asking. For us, it's going to be more of a policy decision too. I mean, we talked a little bit about that campus plan. Should we come up with a sewer system? Now, again, I don't think we need to move the whole phasing. I think we can just serve the building itself. But then the other question is who in the campus might also be served at the same time, since the way that the sewer is going. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussion in sewer as we proceed, but those can go in parallel with schematic design and design development.
Okay, yeah, I'll add just a quick little sentence in there that just says that they'll work with the town to investigate the sewer.
Okay.
If I could, David, I mean, before we go too far down that road too, I think we need to look at the potential cost, because we did talk earlier this year about extending the sewer line down 6A further and picking up developments in that area, picking up the town-owned properties down in that area as you get to the Brewster line. If I remember correctly, because that's so much out of phase, what we were talking about before, even though it could pick up Baker's Pond Road and alleviate some issues in Baker's Pond, that funding for that, state funding for that, or federal funding for that was not going to be available, and it would be extremely expensive for just a short run. And so this area, again, I think we need to look at, our mandate is to clean up Meeting House Pond and the river in Pleasant Bay, and if we stop shifting our focus to other areas, then that may become prohibitively expensive for the town to do that. We just need to look at that.
Exactly. Those are amongst the things that we need to discuss. We need to discuss with the select board on which avenue we go. Any project that's not related to water quality improvement would not qualify for SRF funding. SRF funding gives us 0% interest on the loan. So for this particular project, we could be looking at market rate borrowing for a sewer connection, which could be part of the sewer construction cost, particularly if we isolate it just to the fire station building itself. But at the same time, we want to design it in such a way where we can serve the fire station, but in the future, be able to serve the neighborhood, where the infrastructure is sized appropriately to serve both. So we can capture that SRF funding at a later date. So I think the main thing is to get our sewer contractor on board for this particular project, and then we'll be able to work through that, not only with our OPM, with this committee, but also with the designer.
Anything else, Taylor?
I think I'm all set. I think I can make these changes, relatively quickly, and the schedule hasn't changed from what, Rick gave you last week, but, barring anything major, is this planning to hit the street on Wednesday?
Great. Sorry to hold you up for a little bit, but it was.
Hey, it's fine. I think there was a lot of good comments, and I think the idea of breaking up those phases, I was looking at it a little bit differently, but I think we can just make that more apparent that it doesn't stop at phase one. So I think we usually try to write that out in the contract portion of it, and when we're negotiating it, but I think it's a good idea to include it now.
Mike, any questions or concerns? Okay.
We do have one more thing, sorry. I did bring a copy of kind of what the rating sheet will look like when we do get the proposals in. This was just from the last one I did. It was for Swansea Library, so I didn't change anything because I knew we might be changing some of our criteria today. But this is just give us an idea of what will give the committee to rate the proposals when they come in.
Great.
So it's a matrix that, just rates 1 to 4 with a final tally at the end. We complete the part on top. If you really want to dig into that sort of stuff, you can as well, but that's checking to make sure they have, everything signed, all the forms are in, DSB is complete. We'll do references as well, that sort of thing. But then the committee completes section 2 and scores the proposals that come in. So again, this will be set up to follow the exact selection criteria that's in the RFQ.
Anybody have anything else for Taylor?
Taylor, one small little thing, when it says convene a pre-construction meeting, or, the pre-bid meeting that we're gonna have, I'm trying to think of where it is. I think we just can put it as highly recommended to attend. I know we don't wanna make it mandatory, but highly recommended.
Or the briefing.
Yeah, the briefing. At least at that point, we can get a sense of what kind of potential designers are going to have a submission. So to Dave's question about the 2.5 weeks, whether that's enough time or not, I think that will be just a good early indicator for us based on the attendance to that meeting.
Yeah, absolutely, good idea. In worst case scenario, if we do get a lot of pushback from designers, hey, we really could use another week, then we'll bring that back and say, hey, they're asking for another week, what do you guys think?
I think that's the whole point, is if we have to issue an addendum and push it out a week or two,
Yeah.
just based on the response, we can.
Yeah.
And that just might be a good indication, at least for you, to say, okay, we're not getting the attention that we want at that point anyway.
Yeah, so you can always extend it.
Okay, I guess we can move on. Just going to do some housekeeping.
Sure.
And did everybody have a chance to review the minutes of 9/8/25?
I did. If I can just make one comment to just add myself and the chief as listed as present for that meeting, just at the very top. And then with that, make a motion to approve the minutes of 9/8 as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Minutes of 9/15/25.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of September 15th, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And the minutes of 10/27/25.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of October 27th, 2025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Right. Okay, Laura, Mark abstained? He was not at the meeting. So as for upcoming meeting dates, Taylor, when would that bid review occur?
So we have right now the committee picking up packets on Friday, November 21st. And then tentatively scheduled is review and shortlist Tuesday, December 2nd. Now, if you'd rather meet on Monday, I mean, that can be done too. It was just kind of the schedule we threw out there.
Does anybody see any reason to meet again prior to the first week in December? I don't.
Can we do 12/1 instead of 12/2 to stay on the whole Monday thing?
Yeah.
It would be helpful only because we have the room booked already.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually have to ask Rick why he put the second on the first. I would have picked the first, so, yeah, Monday the 1st works.
Okay, so can we plan to schedule our next meeting, Laura, for December 1st?
We pick up the packets. You mentioned we pick up the packets.
They're due Friday, November 21st, at noon. So we'll be here to assemble the packets, make sure everybody has, the set, and we'll try to get here and assemble everything by 2 p.m. So you can pick them up on the 21st.
Great.
And of course, if anything changes in terms of, we hear architects saying, hey, can we have another week? We'll update the schedule and let everybody know.
Okay. Anything else? I have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes